How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, conversationalists across America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The shooter has shot himself. Boy, this did not play out as anyone thought. And I need to correct the record now, but I'm putting this on Brown University. The students who were there said that the shooter opened fire saying Allahu Akbar. That's from students at Brown University. The university administrators declined to say what he said. The police said he said something. They wouldn't say what he said. And now there are reports that that's not what he said, despite students claiming that's what he said. It's also, there's no Iranian connection. This is a weird story, Iranian connection. I've been telling you about the fusion expert at MIT who was murdered. This is all very weird. Let me give you what we now know about the situation and how it has played out. What an intriguing, just odd, sad story. Federal prosecutors said Thursday the suspect in the killing of a Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor was his former classmate. Claudio Manuel Neves Valente attended the same academic program in Portugal as Nuno F.G. Lourio, the MIT professor. Dr. Lourio, 47, graduated with a degree in physics. Neves Valente entered the United States on a student visa in 2000, enrolled briefly in a graduate physics program at Brown University until the spring of 2001. The U.S. Attorney in Massachusetts, Lee Foley, said that Mr. Neves Valente became a permanent resident in 2017, registered in Florida. In Portugal, Dr. Lourio worked as a researcher at the Institute in 2016 when he came to the United States to join MIT as a professor of nuclear science and engineering. In 2024, appointed director of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center, one of the school's largest labs. On December 1st, Mr. Neves Valente rented a Nissan Sentra sedan from an Alamo rental agency in Boston and drove to Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, according to an affidavit filed by the Providence police. License plate readers captured the car in Brown's vicinity in the days leading up to the campus shooting. As he traveled across states, Mr. Neves Valente took pains to conceal his identity and movements, including changing the rental car's Florida license plate to an unregistered plate from Maine and using a phone that disguised his location, sophisticated in hiding his tracks. The car was seen around the Brown campus until December 12th, the day before Mr. Neves Valente allegedly opened fire on an auditorium full of students reviewing final exams. 2 students were killed, 9 were injured. 3 days later, Dr. Lourio was found with gunshot wounds by his neighbor at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. He was taken to a hospital and pronounced dead. Security footage showed Mr. Neves Valente within a half mile of Dr. Lourio's residence. Ms. Foley said Mr. Neves Valente drove to Salem, New Hampshire, entered a storage facility within hours of shooting Dr. Lourio. He was seen in security footage entering a storage unit wearing the same clothes worn in Brookline. Police found him dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the storage unit Thursday. It is unclear when he had died. With his death, authorities said both cases are closed. He's the person responsible. Is this not weird? You know the conspiracy theorist, right? Candace Owens is right now trying to see if there are any Egyptian planes in the area. This is actually kind of odd. Now, some of the things we actually know. So there does not appear to be anti-Semitism. A lot of people online, I mentioned online, I didn't give the guy's name because it was somewhat sketchy all around, but the university started deleting website links to a couple of Palestinian activists on campus, and people pointed to that and said they must know something, and I mentioned that, but people were trying to tie it to these individuals. There was no evidence of that, but It was. They wouldn't tell people. And I got to say, part of my concerns here is, look, there was good police work overall. They were able to tie this stuff together. But the lack of forthcoming with what was the distinctive about the gun. They said there was something distinctive. They said there was something said. Students began to fill the void. The rumor mill on the internet took over. People were trying to be helpful and find people, and the university kept deleting stuff. And, there are a lot of arrogant people online who in journalism say, look at the internet sleuths on Twitter. Ah, ha, ha, those conservative right-wingers. Shall we recount the number of ways that reporters have gotten things very wrong over the years? Shall we recount the number of times that members of the media have made accusations against people that turned out not to be true? Now, interestingly enough, the police credit a Reddit comment for being a helpful tip. Let me read you this Reddit tip. I'm being dead serious. The police need to look into a gray Nissan with Florida plates, possibly a rental. That was the car he was driving. It was parked in front of the little shack behind the Rhode Island Historical Society on the Cook Street side. I know because he used his key fob to open the car, approached it, and then something prompted him to back away. When he backed away, he relocked the car. I found that odd, so when he circled the block, I approached the car, and that's when I found the Florida plates. He was parked in the section between the gate, the Rhode Island Historic Society, and the corner of Cook and George Street. That was from Reddit. A Redditor saw this and put it online in a discussion about the case. Also, it appears that there's a homeless man. Now, this is one of the wild ones. A homeless man lives on campus. That's right. There's a homeless man. He is a genius student in the opinion of Brown University, and so they let him live on campus. His name is John. This is kind of interesting. So John was a person of interest. John accompanied police officers and recorded an interview. At the outset, detectives reminded John he's free to leave at any time. John recounted he first encountered the suspect inside a bathroom on the ground floor of the Barris Holly building, immediately to the right of the entrance of the building. John described the suspect's clothing as inappropriate and inadequate for the weather. He described the jacket and gloves as flimsy, described the clothing, including the jacket, as baggy, with at least two undergarment shirt layers, one of which had a brand-style logo, possibly LL Bean. He described the pants and shoes as kitchen restaurant worker style of poor quality or would be associated with Walmart. John cast no judgment as to the quality. This is from the police report. John described large face masks covering the entire lower part of the suspect's face, believed he was wearing glasses. The suspect's skin was weathered, cinnamon-colored complexion. The eyes were brown. The face was chubby. From the interview, several instances where John made eye contact with the suspect or stood in close proximity. The initial encounter involving John locking eyes with the suspect. After this initial encounter, John observed the suspect exit the building into the parking lot. John remained at the entrance until he observed the suspect go up Manning Street and then followed him. He described the encounter with the suspect near the Rhode Island Historical Society and the gray or green sedan. He assumed the suspect had a key fob because the light of the Nissan lit up as the suspect approached. They encountered each other on George Street. The suspect ran in the opposite direction. John ran up behind the person of interest, slowed to a speed walk, walked past him, turned to face him. John estimated they were standing approximately 2 feet away. John asked the suspect, "Your car's back there. Why are you circling the block?" The suspect responded, "I don't know you from anybody. Why are you harassing me?" John is apparently he's a graduate student who lives in the building, is very, excels in math, and Brown has let them stay there. Now, I read that on the internet, but it sounds like they're taking care of John, who can't afford houses but has shown math talent. He's some sort of prodigy that they allow, and John has kind of adopted the campus as his own and was deeply invested in what this guy was doing there. We don't know motive. Is it not odd, though? He shoots up a classroom at Brown, and then he drives to MIT and shoots that professor. The Israelis were suggesting that they were investigating an Iranian tie to the shooting of the MIT professor. Students on campus were reported to have said the guy opened fire selling Allah Akbar. We don't, everything is really confused at this point. I'm sure as the days goes on, there will be some woven synthesis as to how this happened. By the way, like I told you the other day, there was a report that the guy who was killed in Massachusetts, the MIT professor, was Jewish. And I said that's not true. There are multiple reports from people saying he was Catholic. He grew up in a small Catholic village in Portugal. It's odd. And here's what I want you to do as this story continues to develop. There are going to be a lot of people who try to sell you crazy conspiracy theories. Don't believe the conspiracy theories because the crazy person on the internet insists they're true. I don't know what the ties are. What I know is a lot of people tried very hard to try to figure this out. Were they related? At first, no one thought they were related. And then you saw the wackadoo progressivism on campus. This is Brown University Press. Just listen to this.
Video played a big role in this case. The neighbor's video, the rental car video, but not the video from the building that he walked in freely both before when he got in the confrontation and when he came back in and decided to kill people. You didn't have cameras in that building. Just say it so we can get this over. And my next question is, will you put cameras in that building?
Yeah.
Will you walk cameras in that building?
Yeah, I think we need to look back. We'll look at everything that is done, but I do not think a lack of cameras in that building it had anything to do with what happened there.
Okay, she's right. A lack of cameras didn't, but she's the one who said this is just tragic gun violence. And they disabled the cameras because student protesters at Brown didn't want to be identified in their anti-Semitic protests. You can understand how people jumped to the conclusion with Bondi Beach and Hanukkah and the Jewish professor's classroom and all that there was some anti-Semitism tie. You had students saying the guy yelled Allahu Akbar. The police said he said something, but we're not going to tell you what it is. And then Brown's like, we got cameras everywhere, but not there. But you did, and you turned them off. See, she's also cameras had no role, but yet the cameras were the role in finding the guy. The cameras actually helped figure out who the guy was, but there were no cameras in that building. So maybe they should have had cameras in the building. There's still a lot to learn. I will keep you posted through the day as the story develops, but over the weekend, you're going to hear the conspiracy theories start. People are going to start weaving conspiracy tales that seem to make sense to you because they want to manipulate you. And just be careful when the conspiracy theories start flowing. Welcome back. I'm sure you've heard, maybe you haven't, Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan has been found guilty by a jury of felony charge of obstructing. She was found not guilty of a misdemeanor charge of concealing by a jury following a 4-day trial. This is the judge who was arrested by the FBI in April, accused of helping an illegal immigrant named Eduardo Flores Ruiz evade arrest by ICE. See him out a back door of the court where people don't go. The prosecution showed how Dugan confronted agents and attempted to remove them from public hallways, how she escorted Flores Ruiz and his attorney through the jury door into a non-public area. Flores Ruiz was apprehended outside the courthouse shortly after leaving Dugan's courtroom and deported. He had been deported in 2013 and returned illegally. Flores Ruiz was in Dugan's court on domestic violence charges. Witnesses for the prosecution said his victims were in court on April 18th, hoping to get justice. They looked uncomfortable in his presence. The victims, a man and a woman, said Flores Ruiz hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital, and the judge let him escape to avoid deportation, and a jury has found her guilty in Wisconsin. I got to say, she looked pretty miserable. Now, it's federal court, so you just have the sketch artist, but the sketch artist made her look pretty miserable. I got to be honest with you. I assumed in Wisconsin the jury would just let her go. And that's not the case. They dismissed the misdemeanor charge, but the fact is they got her on the felony. And, you know, when it came out, the left's like, yes, victory, justice, we'll take it. And then they realized, they found her guilty of the felony, not the misdemeanor. Yes, the felony, not the misdemeanor, which is good. Justice was served and delivered. Look, I read you guys the story yesterday in Virginia. The prosecutors there led an illegal alien out of jail. ICE was looking for him. They let him out of jail to avoid ICE picking him up. They refused to honor the detainer from ICE, and the next day he murdered someone in a parking lot. I think more and more Americans are getting really frustrated with this. Even liberal Americans, just average citizens, are getting frustrated with this. Look at the Daniel Penny situation where the jury, he was charged with a crime and the jury found him not guilty. Jury nullification essentially happening in that case. People are really getting frustrated with the left. And so I keep going back to, yes, these all fall for your elections for Republicans look very bad. Republicans are not showing up. It is on the Republicans. They're the ones not showing up. It's on the independents. They don't like Trump. I'm back to wondering about the midterms when I see all these patterns. Now, part of it, though, is that, yeah, the Democrats should have a good time next year. And you see the Republicans flee in Congress. Yeah, they should. But it's just, it continues to be wild. It's just wild that we are in a situation like this where, I mean, we've just got progressive judges trying to abdicate their responsibility, help illegal aliens and the like, and the public is standing up to them, and the Trump administration is, and the public siding with the Trump administration still on this issue. That should be a red flag for the Democrats. They keep overplaying their hand on this. Now, listen, I want to direct you to EdenPureDeals.com today. If you go to the site, you'll see a discount code box. You can put in ERIC3, ERICK3, and get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms for less than $200. You save $200, and they will eliminate odors in your house, in your basement, in your attic, your rental car, your RV, your hotel room. I'm leaving tonight. I've got to take everybody to the doctor to check them. They've all had the flu. And then I move my flight. I'm going to be late. It's okay. They're sending me out of town to hit golf balls. It's kind of an early Christmas present. I've got one with me. Now, I don't expect to. My hotel's nice, but they're so small, I keep it in my travel bag, and it just wipes out odors. I've used it in rental cars and hotel rooms, the kitchen, my back porch. You can use it to eliminate odors. It generates ozone, so you don't leave it running all the time. But when they're bad odors, you fire it up, and it wipes out the odors. It's like odor bleach. EdenPureDeals.com is the website. Eden, like the Garden of Eden, pure as the driven snow. EdenPureDeals.com. Put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3. You'll get 3 of them. You'll save $200. Get them for less than $200. EdenPureDeals.com. Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson. One development I want you to know, I pinged a couple people on this. This appears to be so. Just keep your eye on it. That there's a belief that the motivation of this shooter at Brown and MIT had something to do with physics. They're trying to figure that out. That the room in which she opened fire, there was an economics review taking place for a Jewish professor, and that's the anti-Semitism and the student stuff. But actually, there was supposed to be a physics final scheduled. And it was moved to a different room or something along those lines. And then killed the physicist at MIT, and this guy had studied physics. So there appears to be something there that this has now come up among reporters saying they're looking at this as a motivation. So we'll see. I'm gonna step back from this because I don't want to rumor monger. There are enough rumors out there. But just so you understand that this is where the conversation is headed with motivations, according to people in the FBI and others. We'll see how this plays out. I want to actually talk to you about Howard Lutnick. He's a terrible spokesman for the White House, the defender of tariffs and everything else. Let's talk about girl math. Now, listen, this isn't being sexist. You ladies listening, you make these jokes. So my wife does this. We joke about it in our house. Something will be on sale. So my wife will buy stuff that's on sale and buy more than she needs. So it's buy one, get three half price each. So you've bought one, so your second and third one together equal the one, and then you buy the third one. So you've gotten more, but you've also paid more. But you've saved money. Because those three, you got two of them you got three, each of them half price. So you got actually two for the price of one and then half off on the third one. And boom, girl math. Y'all, you know it's true. Ladies, you know it's true. You see a sale. If you buy one, it's $5. If you buy three, it's $10. So you save money. But you only wanted to go and spending $5, but you spent $10, but you feel like you saved money. This is it's girl math, and you all know it. We can all laugh about it. Howard Lutnick is deploying girl math now to try to defend some of the things the president is saying and claims and puff things up. Listen to this exchange. He was on Fox News with John Roberts
tonight because some of them were just mathematically impossible. Listen to what he said about bringing down the price of prescription drugs. Listen here.
I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades, to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%.
Well, if you cut something by 100%, the cost goes down to zero. If you cut it by 4, 5, or 600%, the drug companies are actually paying you to take their product. So it raises the question, how much of last night's speech was hyperbole and how much was fact?
No, what he's saying is you bring it, if a drug was $100 and you bring the drug down to $13, right? If you're looking at it from $13, it's down seven times.
It's not a 600%.
Well, but it's 700% higher price before. It's down 700% now, right? So a $13 would have to go up 700% to get back to the old one. So it all depends on when you look at it. You could say it's down 87%, or you could say it would have to go up 700% to be the same one. So it just depends on what you look at it. But basically what he's saying, and we all know what he's saying, is we are hammering the price of drugs down. That's what's happening, and he's announcing it all the time. He's got more announcements even between now and the end of the year.
Okay. What percentage is 13 of 100? Obviously, 13% in that regard. But let's see. Again, I'm not doing the math in my head. I'm asking the internet here. If I cut a price from $100 to $13, what is the percentage price cut? And the answer there is 87%, as Howard Lutnick said. 87%. So Howard Lutnick said it's 87%, but it's like 700%. It's like 600. That's girl math, y'all. The president's cut the price by 87%, not by 700%. You all know this intuitively. And again, I went to law school to avoid the math. I'm asking the computer these things because I'm not that bright when it comes to math. At one point in my life, I was the state champion in geometry in the state of Louisiana in the year of our Lord 1993, I think. I love geometry, but math I don't like. But you know this intuitively. If you if you cut a price by 100%, you've cut it by itself. So $10 minus $10 is zero. So if you cut something by 700%, it goes into negative territory, meaning the other guy owes you. I mean, just again, let's listen to this exchange again.
So
tonight, because some of them were just mathematically impossible. Listen to what he said about bringing down the price of prescription drugs. Listen here.
I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%.
Well, if you cut something by 100%, the cost goes down to zero. If you cut it by 4, 5, or 600%, the drug companies are actually paying you to take their product. So it raises the question, how much of last night's speech was hyperbole and how much was fact?
No, what he's saying is you bring it, if a drug was $100 and you bring the drug down to $13, right? If you're looking at it from $13, it's down 7 times.
It's not a 600%.
Well, but it's 700% higher price before. It's down 700% now, right?
Right. This is girl math. This is girl math. He's not a good communicator for the president on this stuff. It's kind of embarrassing at this point. And can we just have Scott Bessent do this sort of stuff for the president? I mean, kudos to the president for getting prices down. That's meaningful for a lot of people. But also, I'm concerned that Lutnick has convinced the president to engage in state socialism. I mean, we're taking interest in companies. Y'all all know if Barack Obama or Joe Biden did that, you'd be furious. In fact, they did it with General Motors, and a lot of you were driven into the Tea Party movement because of it. And in the process, Donald Trump got swept in office, and now we're taking shares in companies like Intel and others. What's going to happen when the Democrats come back in and they say, well, we own these companies now. We're going to impose DEI, and we're going to fire all the white guys again. You're like, oh, they can't do that. They're not taking controlling interest or voting shares. Do you really think the government of the United States can't manipulate a company in which it owns shares of the company? Really? Do you believe that? I mean, Donald Trump doesn't own shares in other companies and he's pressuring them. Now look, I think taking interest in these companies is not a good thing, and it's setting dangerous precedents. And I really do think that we need to, I really do think we need to rethink how this is playing out. But also, I understand the need for the president to try to do things differently and show he's doing that. I think it's the wrong approach in the end. I do. But I understand why he wants to try a different approach. I get that as well, completely. And the Democrats, what are they going to do? Say more of it? That's the problem here is when Republicans set the precedent, the Democrats are going to eventually, well, look, it came in, Donald Trump did this, we're going to do more of it. We're going to take ownership interest in the power plants now. Speaking of, Bernie Sanders wants to basically shut down the power grid in this country. The man has never met an innovation he liked. He doesn't like innovation in power grids. He's trying to shut it down, claiming that the data centers are consuming all sorts of energy. And we actually need to, in Bernie Sanders' mind, is we need to stop developing new means of energy in order to shut the data centers down. It's kind of, his logic on all this stuff is just genuinely absurd. I mean, I'm not a fan of his to begin with. And the odd thing is, how many young Bernie Sanders supporting men have come out now and supported Donald Trump? It's kind of interesting. Bernie Sanders is just not a great guy. By the way, a Sonny Bunch at the Bulwark has this piece from Sam Stein. Just listen to this about Bernie Sanders. Pediatric cancer advocates scrambled to get the Senate to watch the moment. Reporters who had covered the issue, including this one, were given a heads up about its imminent passage. At least 3 kids who are bereaved siblings of cancer victims and 1 pediatric cancer survivor sat in the Senate gallery, and then the legislation failed. A single senator stood in the way, Bernie Sanders. In a dramatic, heated exchange on the Senate floor caught by the C-SPAN cameras but missed by the news-consuming public, Sanders announced his opposition to quick passage for the bill. He did so not because he disagreed with its objective, which is to give the FDA the authority to push pharmaceutical companies to study combination drug therapies, but because he worried that extraneous provisions attached to it would make it harder to achieve other priorities. He argued the Senate ought to be passing similar important bipartisan-supported healthcare measures along with it. His staff insisted that they would revisit the bill soon, but they seemed confident it would all get done in the new year. But that's not at all clear to the pediatric cancer community, which was stunned by the vote. Everyone was just so exhausted and deflated and sad when we exited the gallery. It was a feeling of abandonment and confusion. You had it all lined up. You had bipartisan support in the Senate to pass a pediatric cancer research funding bill this week. And Sanders killed it. You had pediatric cancer victims and survivors in the gallery waiting for the passage. The Democrats and Republicans both said it was going to pass, and Sanders went down there and killed it. And now he wants to kill the power grid of this country to stop AI data centers. He's not wanting to restrain the data centers. He wants to restrain the power companies. We got insanity on all sides now, and you got Lutnick on TV doing girl math. Is it any wonder that people are just starting to check out on the country? It's just bizarre. It's truly bizarre. People are just like, this is nuts. On the upside, the Senate did confirm the president's NASA pick, who's a great pick. And he's going to retool NASA, which is good, and maybe get some government efficiency out of it. But man, between the Commerce Secretary, guys like Bernie Sanders, you got a bunch of Americans out there thinking everybody has lost their minds in D.C., and you can't really blame them. All right. I avoided this. This is a bigger drama, I think, than the Candace Owens, Erica Kirk stuff, which I'm going to get into Ben Shapiro's speech later in the show if I have time. But I tried to avoid much of the college football playoff drama. I don't really think there's a right answer into how you do it. Alabama gets in, Texas doesn't get in, Notre Dame doesn't get in. But I also thought, look, I'm from Louisiana, almost went to Tulane. I don't know that they need to be there, or James Madison and Pat McAfee, who, by the way, I beat his live stream the other day on Twitter. Pat McAfee, he had on Nick Saban, and I'm going to let Coach Saban say what I think most people think.
And look, would we allow the winner of the AAA baseball league, the International League, whatever they call it, I don't even know the name of it, would you let them in the World Series playoffs?
I don't think they do. No, I don't think.
No, they don't. But I'm saying, but that's the equivalent of what we do when JMU gets in to the college football playoff and Notre Dame doesn't.
Amen. Amen. Listen, it's. I get it, but I mean, James Madison and Tulane, they're not big teams, and I just think that they got it wrong. And I'm glad that Nick Saban is saying this. And, speaking of, there's the story the other day. I think Philip put it in the show notes for me the other day. And I can't find the video now of the coach complaining about the teams that are just checking out of the bowl games because the players aren't going to get paid. They're abandoning their teammates. Teams aren't getting in. Some players aren't going, all because of them. Like, we got to fix. College football is broken. College football is broken, and it needs to be fixed because a lot of players at this point, they've got agents, they're cashing in, and it's a shame to see this. Yeah, here it is. It's Jeff Traylor. Listen to this. Listen to this.
we'll be a shell of ourselves. But whoever we got out there, we're going to go out there and play the best we can. It's just the numbers so big, and with all the tampering, all the agents, it's coaches too, it's all of them. Our kids are being they're being promised such incredible numbers. They're getting lured into the portal. I just hope all the things those coaches and the agents are promising they're going to do for my kids. I really hope so. I mean, I hate it because I really want to coach them in a bowl game, but they're getting leveraged out of it. Their agents are telling them if they got to not play in the bowl and they'll get this number if they don't play in the bowl. So it's ridiculous. I hate what's going on with college football.
Amen. That's Jeff Traylor. He's the coach for the University of Texas, San Antonio, and he's right. And Congress has an opportunity. Congress is going to have to get involved. This is all because of a Supreme Court decision that Congress could fix, and there's a movement in Congress, bipartisan, to fix this because you're getting these kids with agents now, and they're in it for the money, and they don't want to get hurt in a bowl game and ruin a potential NFL career. And then I told you that story the other day, that the kid, he's been to like 5 or 6 different schools, and now he's trying to get a 7th-year exemption and go somewhere else, from Georgia State to somewhere else, to keep playing because he's never going to make it to the NFL probably. And I mean, it's just, the whole thing is unfortunate that we're where we are. Let me tell you about Americans for Prosperity. They would love to have you involved with AFP. They are the largest and leading grassroots group in the country. You go to afpvolunteer.com today, afpvolunteer.com. You sign up with them. They can get you involved in the fight for freedom in the country. They would love to have you involved on the side of freedom. They advocate common sense conservative solutions around the country, down to the state level, the local level, even the federal level. They can teach you how to be a congressional activist, call your member of Congress, and show up at your state legislature, or they can just keep you informed, or they can teach you how to get the vote out from people, knocking on doors, convincing your neighbors. Go to afpvolunteer.com today, afpvolunteer.com. I'm on the board of advisors of Americans for Prosperity. I go around the country doing events for them. I see how they can shape policy even in Democratic states. They can make persuasive cases for common sense conservative reforms, and they would love to have you help them. afpvolunteer.com is the website, afpvolunteer.com. When we come back, we got to spend a little more time on the fraud in Minnesota. We've got new data about the fraud and just how big it is.